Imagine a single pill that transformed HIV from a fatal diagnosis into a chronic, manageable condition for millions of people. A medicine so effective, so simple, and so reliable that it became the default standard of care almost overnight. A drug that didn't just treat HIV, it ended the fear that defined an entire generation. A drug that consolidated decades of virology, medicinal chemistry, and clinical trial failures into one tablet, taken once a day. This is the story of a medicine that reshaped global HIV treatment, cemented one company's dominance in antiviral therapy, and quietly became one of the most important drugs of the 21st century. This is the story of Biktarvy. Welcome to Blockbuster Drugs. Every blockbuster drug starts somewhere, from cluttered labs on handwritten notes to kitchen tables at night. Welcome to Blockbuster Drugs, the series that uncovers the human stories behind the world's most powerful medicines. These breakthroughs didn't start in skyscrapers or billion-dollar boardrooms. They began in tiny labs at kitchen table biotech startups and in the minds of young scientists chasing ideas no one else believed in. Through failures, reinventions, and sheer persistence, from accidental encounters to tireless experiments, this is Blockbuster Drugs. Section 1. What is Biktarvy? Who developed it? How big does it get? Biktarvy was approved by the FDA in 2018 for the treatment of HIV-1 infection. At first glance, it looked incremental, just another antiviral combination pill. But Biktarvy would become something else entirely. Within just a few years, it became the most prescribed HIV treatment in the world. Peak annual sales of $12 billion. Millions of patients treated globally. First-line therapy in treatment-naive patients, dominant across the US, Europe, and low-resource settings. Biktarvy is a 3-drug, single-tablet regimen. Biktarvy, emtricitabine, tenofovir alafenamide. Behind it stands Gilead Sciences, the company that transformed HIV from a death sentence into a chronic disease. But Biktarvy wasn't just another success. It was the culmination of a 30-year scientific war. Section 2. The biological idea behind Biktarvy. Stopping HIV at every step. HIV is not a simple virus. It hijacks the immune system's most important cells, CD4 T cells, and rewrites their DNA. To survive, HIV must enter the cell, reverse transcribe its RNA, integrate into the host genome, and replicate, endlessly spreading to other cells. Biktarvy attacks HIV at multiple critical steps. Biktarvy blocks integrase, preventing viral DNA from integrating. Emtricitabine and tenofovir alafenamide disrupt reverse transcription. This multi-layer blockade does something crucial. It prevents resistance. HIV mutates fast, but it can't escape all 3 locks at once. That's why Biktarvy is so effective and so durable. Section 3. The origin story. Decades of failure, refinement, and persistence. In the early days of HIV treatment, drugs were toxic, complicated, and unforgiving. Patients took dozens of pills multiple times per day with strict food rules and had severe side effects. Miss a dose and resistance emerged. Gilead entered HIV drug development in the 1990s with a radical goal to simplify everything. They pioneered fixed-dose combinations, better-tolerated nucleoside analogs, long-lasting antivirals. Biktarvy was the final piece, a next-generation integrase inhibitor potent, forgiving, and remarkably resistant to mutation. When it was paired with Gilead's optimized backbone, Biktarvy was born. Section 4. Hurdles in drug development and clinical trials. Developing Biktarvy meant solving 4 major challenges. Challenge 1. Resistance. HIV's greatest weapon is mutation. Biktarvy had to demonstrate an exceptionally high barrier to resistance. In clinical trials, resistance was virtually non-existent. Challenge 2. Safety. Earlier HIV drugs damaged kidneys, bones, and mitochondria. Tenofovir alafenamide solved this by delivering the drug directly into cells, reducing systemic exposure. Challenge 3. Adherence. The simpler the regimen, the better the outcomes. One pill, once per day, no food restrictions. Challenge 4. Global deployment. The drug had to work across populations, ages, and healthcare systems. Trials succeeded decisively. Biktarvy earned approval not just as another option, but as the preferred standard. Section 5. Indications and medical impact. Redefining life with HIV. Biktarvy is approved for treatment of naive HIV patients and patients switching from other regimens. But its real impact is human. For patients, Biktarvy means undetectable viral load, near normal life expectancy, minimal side effects, and freedom from daily fear. The phrase, undetectable equals untransmittable, became reality. HIV was no longer a constant threat, but a controlled condition. Entire generations grew up without witnessing the AIDS crisis. That is the true measure of Biktarvy's success. Section 6. The economics, dominance, access, and controversy. Biktarvy is a scientific triumph, but also an economic force. At peak, it generated over $12 billion per year, becoming Gilead's most important product. Pricing debates emerged. High U.S. costs, global access challenges, and patent protections. Gilead responded with tiered pricing, licensing agreements, and global access programs. Few drugs have balanced profit and public health so directly. Section 7. The future and legacy. The end of HIV as a crisis. Biktarvy will not be the final chapter in HIV. Long-acting injectables, cures, and vaccines are coming. But Biktarvy's legacy is permanent. It set the gold standard for HIV therapy, ended the era of complex regimens, proved that viral diseases could be controlled at scale, turned fear into routine care. Biktarvy didn't just treat HIV. It closed a chapter of history. Biktarvy's story reminds us that the most powerful drugs don't always arrive with headlines. Sometimes they arrive as a small pill taken once a day that quietly changes the world. At Blockbuster Drugs, we uncover the science and stories behind the medicines that transformed humanity. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Biktarvy, the pill that ended the AIDS era, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more long-form stories from the intersection of science, medicine, and history. The next blockbuster is already in development.